Welcome back to our lectures in ethics and culture. In the last lecture, we looked at Nietzsche's critique of religious Christian morality and secular utilitarian morality, uh, which he then seems to contrast to a notion of a higher morality. Today, we turn to an admittedly difficult lecture. At this stage of the course, this lecture merely tries to give you, aims to give you some idea of the main themes uh, with regard to both the exact nature of his critique of morality and some hints about the type of morality that he seems to favor. Now, if you recall, in the last lecture, Nietzsche directs his critique of morality with reference to utilitarianism, Christian morality. Uh, we brought up some certain his critique of certain Kantian themes and so on. So, once again, to go back to the question we had raised right at the beginning of the last lecture, the several questions with regard to his uh, exact stance towards the very idea of morality. So, is Nietzsche arguing against all morality? Is he saying that there's no value to values in general, any sorts of values? Is he questioning the value of all values? On the other hand, is he critiquing specific morality? Because he mentions utilitarian in the context we read, the text we read, or Christian morality. And as I mentioned elsewhere, he carries out a trenchant critique of Kantian morality and so on. So is it directed towards any specific morality or sets of morality? And, and then at the same time, is he critiquing just all morality, or does he point to certain higher morality that he seems to favor? We have already seen a bit of that. What I mentioned last time is that is Nietzsche pointing towards certain life affirming morality or certain values or morals that's for life, that affirms life and in some ways has some impact on the sort of positive dimensions of life that he seems to favor. So again, we can begin by noting, as I have already done so before, is that Nietzsche is certainly not a critique of all morality. I mean, he explicitly embraces this idea of a higher morality, which would guide and inform the lives of sort of higher human beings. Where here he tries to, I hinted at that, we'll look at it in a little more detail. He tries to offer a sort of valuation of existing values, a critique of existing morality in a manner that would at the same time point towards or appeal to a sort of a broadly a moral standards of some sort that he is in favor of. So we'll look at this both in terms of, as I mentioned earlier, he uses the same terms, demoral or demoralité, both to talk about the moral systems that he's criticizing and those that he seems to approve. So he doesn't use two different words for these. So, generally speaking, and once again, it's not a critique of just any specific morality or philosophy. We have seen it's sort of an equal opportunity attack on Christian, modern European moralities, Kantian morality, utilitarian moralities. So he's attacking both secular and religious moralities. And what he seems to be getting at is that there are certain characteristics of all these moralities that are subject of his critique. And today we'll try to tease out what those are. What is it that he finds objectionable in all these moralities? And how does he then contrast it to the type of morality he seems to be uh, proposing or embracing? So, given this terminology issue, the fact that he refers to the same terms to uh, indicate both the target of his critique and the sort of object of his, how should I put it, favor. Uh, Let's make some distinctions. I mean, the morality he criticizes, I've referred to in the last lecture also, or in the text that you encountered in Genealogy of Morality, that the subject of his critique is often referred to as traditional morality, or what Nietzsche himself referred to as herd morality or slave morality, morals that we encountered in the last lecture. Uh, but we'll today turn, and particularly I will uh, uh, rely heavily on Professor Brian Leiter's book called Morality in a Pejorative Sense. So this is the term we'll use. A morality sort of pejorative here means sort of a disparaging or a sort of dismissive sense. So the morality that he's criticizing, Brian Leiter refers to as morality in a pejorative sense. So we'll try to get a sense of what is his sort of main sort of substance of his critique of this, all of those systems that are representative of this, or that share the characteristics of this morality in a pejorative sense. And then we'll try to contrast that to what Nietzsche himself sort of celebrates or embraces as a form of higher morality.